And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
That's right. That's the beautiful tone of MCW. Michael C. Williams broadcasting the red corner, saying a little bit about the blue corner. The blue corner is okay. It's all right. It's the B side, but that's okay. Josh, how you doing, baby?
Everyone loves an underdog, especially when he's piecing up the champ at a 10-8 round, just touching that great chin.
Hold on. I'm glad you
Let's
understand
go.
what you said. The champ.
We call you the champ. I mean, you are the champ in the age department, that's for sure.
Woo, yes, I am.
The grays are coming through, baby. Those things, you got a little extra padding on that chin.
Hold on. Raise that mic.
I know. Look at that. I know. That's the Mexican in me right there.
Damn, that's some age showing.
I got a herd of them right there on this side. I got a herd of them on this side.
Herd.
Not a whole lot on the top yet. They're all huddled up on the sides right now. They'll make their way around the rest of my head, though. I know.
I had someone send me a thing, man. What color do you use on your hair? Why in the hell would I be coloring my hair if I'd be coloring that too? Give me a break.
Nah.
Don't color nothing.
You're just too lazy. You're too lazy.
Hell
to do
yes,
the-
I am
the-
too lazy.
You're too lazy to do this. That's why. Oh, man. Do you know John, if everyone at home doesn't realize, John, he cuts his own hair at home, and the way he does it, you know those like Hoover, like vacuum, like
No.
He just
It's a clipper,
runs
dude.
it all on his head, and that's what he does.
I got it down to a science.
Turns out perfectly.
You know,
every
okay,
single time.
and this is the truth. You got to figure, this is how ADD I am. I admit it, I am. And it's like, I can't sit at a barber shop for fucking 15 minutes. It drives me crazy.
Really?
Yeah, if I have to wait in the chairs, I have to wait there, and then I'm waiting to get the haircut. It's like, no, it takes me 5 minutes. I'm done. It's good for at least a week and a half. Boom, out. It's all about saving time. Time is precious, my man.
Well, you moved to the middle of nowhere. I can't imagine there's a hair salon anywhere near you that will cut your hair.
There's a lot of barbers
It'd take you
there.
30 minutes to get there probably, and then sit in the chair
waste
for
of time.
15. Yeah, I get
Waste
it.
of
I
time.
understand that part. It was your choice to live out there in the boondocks, though.
Ew.
All right. Well, hey, I think there's some news we're going to talk real quick. There's no fights coming up this weekend, and so we're going to jump right into some news, talk about the news and some of the headlines, give you some of our advice and our opinion on some of this stuff, or what we think maybe some of these athletes and fighters and media and stuff should be covering, or that they are covering, and just giving you our 2 cents on it. If you guys agree, great. If you don't, great. That's your right. But then we're going to go right into some fan questions, man. We have a lot of fan questions that were presented, and I had some people hit us up. Dave, where do they post their fan questions?
You guys should be posting them on the YouTube community page. So if you're from Instagram, if you're from the audio platforms, just go to youtube.com/weighing in, and then on the community section, we do a fan Q&A. We do some other posts as well where we ask for input, but the fan Q&A lands there. It's the easiest place to get your fan questions that go to the top of the line because they're all in one place.
Got it.
There you go.
All right. Well, let's get into some news real quick. We're going to answer a couple of these things.
Go,
We'll
Dave.
talk about a couple of these things, then we'll go from there.
All right, so the first story, we talked the other day about Deiveson Figueiredo saying he didn't want the fourth Moreno fight because he felt like there were some racist remarks made towards him. We commented on that, but now he's out with a hand injury and expecting not to be back until the end of this year pretty much. So what does that do for the flyweight division?
I mean, it makes it pretty simple if he's out. I mean, then Moreno will just fight Kai France, the fight that Figueiredo wants. So then when he comes back, he's forced to fight Moreno for the fourth time. That's really what it's going to happen. I mean, I can't imagine it going any other direction.
Wow, you just gave a victory to Moreno over Kai France. He could lose that fight.
That's true. That is, yeah. But let me reword that.
Good.
It puts
There
him
you
in a
go.
position. It puts him in a position to get that fourth fight, and then there's no one really in that mix that really would stand out like Kai France does right now to be next in line for a title shot. You know, that's kind of, if he's going to be out that long, that would make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. Since you had France beating Askarov, there's only one guy that's in there besides Moreno that you can kind of put. Pantoja is there, and you could look at him as someone that could fight for the title right now. But put me to the flyweight
Right here.
See, like I said, there's Pantoja is number 4 right now. And honestly, because Alex Perez has already fought for the title and everything, Brandon Royval, great fighter, but not in that position. So like I said, Pantoja's the guy. If you're looking at, you could say he could actually be someone that's in that mix. But if Figueiredo is out, I would put Brandon Moreno against Kai Kara France, and the winner absolutely gets a title shot.
Yeah, I mean, you may end up, though, with a little bit too much time. Let's just say Figgy takes longer than that, and he goes into next year. So then you have Kai and you have Moreno fight probably within the next 2-3 months. I would say 3 months. Then that leaves you the rest of the year. So if he says, oh, yeah, I'm not feeling any better, he puts it off even longer, then you probably have to have Pantoja come up and fight either Kai or fight Moreno. Moreno just sits until the title shot. I mean, a lot can happen in a year. That's the thing. There's a lot of time still left in this year. And for these fighters to, for them to fight and to see what happens at the end of this is basically like you've got Moreno and Kai, the two of them together, to find out who's going to win, really to see who's going to fight Figgy. I don't know how long Figgy's going to be out.
Don't know either.
I just mumbled on for that last 10 seconds because I lost my train of thought.
Thank you very much. Okay, I didn't want to say anything.
Total moron, John.
Look, let's be honest.
I called myself out on it.
This is, and I don't know if this is in response to him, being upset with what he felt was racist, a racist statement with this monkey or something that was put out there. I heard someone gave me a text and said something about, hey, in Brazil, you don't call someone a monkey. It's really disrespectful and stuff. I said, so maybe, he's taking it very serious. Maybe he's got the real hand injury too. I don't know, but obviously he's not going to be fighting him for a little bit. That's just, that happens.
This is the game,
The game.
People get injured. People get hurt. There's a lot of little injuries. He's got something else too. It wasn't just his hand. There's another little injury he's got as well. He said there's 2 injuries. I couldn't recall what the second one was, but there's 2.
He says an injury in his left hand, and then he had an MRI. He said it was a finger injury, and he had an MRI, and then he said I have another injury on the left hand that he can't hit pads. Yeah.
There you go. So he has 2 now. I mean, it makes sense. If you can't strike, I mean, that's kind of the biggest part. So
it's a problem.
Yeah, it's an issue. All right, next.
All right, next story. MMA Fighting is announcing that Ben Rothwell was released from the UFC after being reported that he was going to fight Gus in May. So that now being scrapped, and obviously he is being released.
This podcast is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Did you guys hear me? MyBookie.ag, where all you guys can make all the bets you want on almost anything. John, did you hear me, John? Anything. You've got the Final Four that is around. You've also got the finals that'll be coming up. You've got so many things that you could place bets on. Let's not just talk about fights. I want to let everyone know there's other sports out there, man, you can place at mybookie.ag. But if you guys use our promo code weighing in for your first initial buy-in, they will give you a little extra spending cash, a little bit more dough to put down, courtesy of us at Weighing In Podcast. If you use that promo code weighing in at mybookie.ag and use that little QR code right there, that one right there. Do you hear me? Yep. You use that one right there, that QR code right there. Okay, with the weighing in code, it will give you a little extra spending cash for that first initial buy-in. And you guys, we want to thank you guys so much for supporting us and the mybookie.ag website. Why would they do something like that knowing that they already had them scheduled?
I don't know. Something happened. Something contractually or something that Ben asked for, or who knows, but it's odd because you just don't see them getting rid of a heavyweight. Rothwell's had some problems in his last couple fights, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, but he's still dangerous. He's been dangerous his entire career. He's just a zombie that walks forward and takes shots to land his big shots. He's got his, he's got a couple of wins that you look at, some of the wins that he had. That win against Josh Barnett, getting a submission against Josh Barnett, that was pretty goddamn good with his go-go choke and everything. But, he beat, who did he beat? Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett's fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Good guy. But he got a win against him, but lost his last one against Lima.
No, Tabora. Oh, he lost his last one against Lima, yeah, but
Lima,
he lost
yeah.
before that as well to Tybura.
Oh, really? I thought he lost to Tybura, then beat Chris Barnett,
Yeah.
then lost again. So kind of
Correct.
loss. Yeah. But
Yeah, I mean, at the like, I don't want to say it, but at the age he's at, what is he, 40 years old, 39, 40 years old?
yeah, he's right
You
there.
know, and the UFC, I know in the heavyweight division, they normally hold on to him a little bit longer, but the UFC is also making a push for a lot of their younger stars in that heavyweight division. You know, you've got Aspinall, you've got Gon, you've got, fighters that are in that position there that are making a good run that will probably hold down that heavyweight division for a while.
Yeah.
So, all right.
They got some good young talent, but he's still at 40. He can still fight. He's still tough.
Definitely.
Something happened because he was scheduled to fight Gustafsson, and to just all of a sudden he's been released. Something happened. I don't know what. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, that's strange. Next.
All right. I want to get your thoughts on this one. Iaquinta came out saying that he explained why he's not a proponent of open scoring in MMA, but just wants to see better judging. So I'm curious as to your guys' thoughts on this situation.
John, I don't know. No, I think the judging overall is pretty good. You've got a couple outliers, and we've talked about some of these judges that are outliers that continue to make bad decisions. I also think though that if you're gonna, I don't think open judging or open scoring is the way to go either. I don't agree with that. I don't think you're gonna end up with a lot of fights that are gonna end up being 2 rounds to none, going into the third, and the fighter just sticking to moving, trying to stay away, and the other fighter chasing after him, being reckless and careless. Maybe we'll potentially get knocked out. Maybe we'll potentially get a win. Who knows? But you're going to end up with some of those, and let's just say like in a title fight. I can't even think of a title fight as of recently. In a 5-round fight, let's use George. Let's not use a title fight. Let's use George and Colby. Well, Colby was up, obviously, I think, 3 rounds to 1 going into the 5th, or maybe all 4 rounds.
Well, on 2 cards, he was up all 4 rounds, and on 1 card, he was up 3.
Yeah. So when you have those, that 5th round, would he have fought differently? Who knows? Would he have fought the same? Like, what would he have done differently? I mean, knowing that he could have just got the takedown, he probably would have just continued to be that person. But if the roles were reversed, would George keep going after him? Would George circle and stay away? I mean, it really kind of affects, I feel like maybe it affects the stand-up fighters a little bit differently, because they would probably stick and move and stay on the outside, whatever it is, the potential of it happening that way. Whereas wrestlers, if they're dominating a fight, they're probably dominating because they're getting the takedowns and just riding it on top. But would they be more eager to get finishes? That's the question. If you're dominating a fight 3-1 or 4-1, would they just hold them down and just punch and just light strikes, body, head? Are we going to see more of that? So I also feel that some of these fights that we're talking about, some of them, John, could be closer fights than a 10-9 round. It could be a 10-9.5 or whatever, a 10-8.5, 10-9, whatever it is. Okay. Like it could be a closer round versus giving people a full point to make it a little bit closer in terms of like, okay, this guy won this round. I guess we were just talking about this a little bit off air. You're talking about the Matt Brown situation. Well, he won 4 minutes of the round in the second round, but he got dropped or he got rocked real bad or whatever, you know what I mean? And so do you give him he won 4 minutes. Do you make it a 10? Do you make it a 10-9?
No.
Or do you give it a 10-9.5?
This is the problem. The real problem is this. As you were saying, most of the judging is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. If you take a look at it as a whole, they're getting the right scores. Now, every now and then you're going to have a decision that can be controversial. We do have some people, we call them outliers, that they just give bad scores, and you hope that the other 2 judges are competent enough to, ride that out and come up with the right score. But judging is never going to be subjective. Never going to be objective. It's more subjective. And the problem is this, from what I see most of the time, fighters have no clue what the judges are actually giving credit for. They don't know. And Matt Brown doesn't know. And I feel bad for Matt Brown that he doesn't know. But when Matt Brown makes the statement, I won 4 minutes of that round. How did I lose that round? The judges aren't going off of minutes. They don't care how many minutes that you're squeaking by doing a little bit better if that's what you did. What they're looking for is fight-ending sequences. They're looking for damage. And if you got damaged and you got hurt in that round, or you almost got submitted in that round, and in that, we'll say that you did better a little bit, you're going to lose the round. It doesn't matter on a clock system. That would be if you had judges sitting there with clocks looking at things. They don't do that. They're looking for who is trying to finish a fight. And by trying to finish the fight, that means that we're putting shots on someone that have a great effect. And if you were hit with something that had a great effect on you and hurt you bad, and you lose that 1 minute dramatically, but you barely squeak by the floor, you're going to lose the round. And fighters need to know that. Fighters really need to know that, because if they're thinking that it's, based upon I win 3 minutes of a 5-minute round and he wins 2 minutes, that means there's no way that I can lose the round. You're absolutely wrong. And so the first thing that has to happen is fighters need to really be told, hey, this is what judges are looking for. Because right now, for the most part, I would say most of them don't really know. And Al saying that we need better judging, we always need better everything. We need better judging, we always need better refereeing, and we need better fights. Let's just be honest. So it's always, we want better. There are people out there that are pushing the open scoring. One of the commissions is Kansas. Adam Rohrbach from Kansas is a huge proponent of open scoring, and he's been using it in Kansas, and he wants everyone to use it. Do I have a problem with it? I don't have a problem with it at all. Do I think it's the fix? I don't think it's the fix either. So, if someone wants to have it, I think there's advantages to having it in some ways, and I think there's disadvantages to having it. So to sit there and think that open scoring is going to take care of your problems, it's not. It has its advantages, though. And in some fights, it would be good for fighters to know, hey, you need to win this last round, because hopefully that would make them do more. But in the end, you can only do what you can do. And so everything in the fight is dependent upon, you should be going out there trying to win every moment of every round. Obviously, you can't do that, but you need to understand that judges are looking for those fight-ending sequences. They're looking for, the first thing they're looking for as far as strikes is they're looking for the knockdown. That knockdown means that you were put in a place that you did not want to be. Okay. Then they're looking for the heavy blows, the ones that they can see affect you. You're having to circle out. You're having to get away. You need time. You're trying to, all of a sudden you're diving in for a takedown because it hurt you. That's the next level they're looking for. Then they're looking for the volume strikes where you're actually touching your opponent, having some effect. That's the way that they're looking at it. They don't sit there and count punches, because not every punch, and this is what's wrong with when you get into whatever promotion is going to have it, and they all seem to have it, these, punch stats or strikes, significant strikes, or any of these things. They're all bullshit, because not every strike is the same. You have some strikes that are light, you have some strikes that are heavy. What would you rather be hit with? The big heavy shot or multiple light shots? Obviously the multiple lights. Well, then we're going to give more credit to that? No, we give more credit to the heavy strike. So someone can land 5 strikes, someone can land 1, and they can win the round. That is the way judging is.
Well, how do you remedy this solution for fighters to understand this? I mean, like you and I have talked about this on this show quite a bit. When I came to you and we started working together at Bellator, and then we started doing the podcast, one of the conversations that you and I always had, whether it was over a beer or breakfast or lunch or whatever it was what are the rules? And it's fair to say that I was one of those fighters that fought for 20 years and didn't know all the rules. And how many other ones that are out there that don't seem to understand what the criteria, not just the criteria is, but little things like, oh, don't I get 5 minutes for this? Don't I get time for this? What do you mean? I can't hit you this way, or I can't use this part of. They don't know.
No.
And we laugh about it, but it's a crazy thing to believe that fighters, they just have a perspective of, I just care about the major ones because those are the ones that happen the most.
Yes.
But in that scenario where like the Aljo and Piotr Jan situation, it came down to maybe like the corner maybe knew or something was said, and then he went from, he understood how he could get the win or how it could all go down. And things like that happen, but open scoring to me, John, I don't think it's going to, like you said, it's not going to fix it.
No.
If anything, I think it could potentially end up being more of a problem as time goes on when people learn how to buck the system a little bit more. In the beginning, it'll probably still stay the same. The one thing that I wanted to say was this. Open scoring, fighters, majority of us fighters, or majority of fighters that are at the highest level, whether you lost that damn round or not. So what does open scoring do for you? If the round is close, why are you letting it be that close? You already have in your mind, damn, that round was close. I thought I won, but if you're telling yourself in between rounds, that round was close, I thought I won, that means the next round you need to win. Don't leave it I'm not saying leave it in the judge's hands. I know it's easier said than done because a lot of fights will go the distance because you're equally matched.
Yeah.
Styles make matchups. I get that. But if you go back to the corner and your corner tells you, oh yeah, we won that round, you shouldn't be listening to them. Because unless you dropped him 2 times or 1 time solid and he was rocked and you were stumbling around for a good minute, you probably didn't win. It could be a close round. So whether you won the round or not, John. And a lot of these fighters know that. So what does open scoring really do? What is it supposed to ease the fans' mind? Like, oh, at least we know what it is and the judges aren't trying to do some fuckery with it. No, the judges don't do fuckery with it anyways. They just, some of them, I'll leave them nameless, they just sometimes aren't doing very good jobs at that one fight or whatever that one person is. There's 1 or 2 out there that always seem to come up different and sometimes just a little bit different, sometimes a lot different than the other judges. And it happens. I get it. But they're not out there going, you know what? Round 1 was really close. I'm going to give it this guy. Round 2 was this. But they're going to go, you know what? I'm going to make it equal because round 2 now. They don't do that. They judge it how it is, right, John? And they don't try to make each round, oh, maybe I'll give one to this guy. Maybe I'll give this one to the guy. Oh, it was this. They don't do that.
No, they don't.
And as a fighter, they know when they go back to the corner, they know that they won that round or not. I can't tell you how many times I went back to the corner and I'm like, I lost that round. Shit. I need to win these next 2. Or I won that round. I believe I won that round. That I did enough damage. I did more damage than he did on me. You know how many shots you took to the dome.
Yep.
Unless they're waking you up.
Well, that was part. First off, I talked about. I love Matt Brown. I love watching him fight. But he said, he even said in his thing is, I don't remember being hurt, which means you were hurt. But because you can see it, and it's like, yeah, I mean, and I don't blame him, you don't remember it because it hurts you, and it's, as a fighter, how many times have we seen a fighter doesn't remember being dropped? They don't remember that incident at all. And I tell people all the time, look, that's a moment in time that is lost to them forever. The only way that they can ever understand it is when they watch it, on replay or up on the video screens or something like that, and they'll see, like, I got dropped, because they don't remember it.
Anthony Johnson.
Anthony
Johnson.
And that was one. I have our friend Nordy's in my ear saying, "Ask me this," and I'm like, I don't want to ask it. All right.
All right.
Well, I was like, I knew it. I hate interviewing guys that get dropped because you know that they're not going to remember everything.
Yeah. It's true. But fighters, say, how many times have you heard fighters say, man, I got rocked in the first round or the second round in a 5-round fight or a 3-round fight. I don't remember the rest of the fight.
Yep. All the time.
Yeah, and so not just that, but every fighter up until that point, we're keeping tallies in our head a little bit. Okay, I got hit there. I got hit there. Okay, I got kicked here. I'm like, fighters, if you're smart enough, you guys are taking a tally. How many times they hit you? Okay, I got hit clean. 3 or 4 hard shots. The rest of them just grazed, wasn't enough. Nothing the judges were really. You're thinking about all of that during the fight. Okay, I need to get a takedown. Okay, I need to hit some submissions. I need to threaten a submission. I need to land a couple more leg kicks. I need to do more body work. Whatever it is, you're tallying it up in your mind. Okay, at the end of that round, he hit me 3 times. Okay, the round was too close for me to call. I got to go out there and win the second and third. Fighters do that in their minds. And so to think that they're going to change the way they fight, which they may later on after they get used to the open scoring situation, they may change the way they fight, but it may not be for the better, you guys. That's the issue. It may not be for the better. We may end up with some lulls in some fights because the fighters already know, okay, that round was close, but I won it. Oh, that round was close too, but I won it. Shit, I'm just going to cruise. Round 3, I'm going to cruise. The other fighter may fight harder. Okay. But how many times now are you going to have that fighter basically go out there, rush into something, maybe get knocked out? Sure, you're going to have a fun fight. How many careers are we ruining because of open scoring? It only takes one good, clean, hard knockout for that fighter's career to be, especially as you get older, man. So,
True.
Who knows? You know?
Well,
I don't know. I don't think open scoring is the way to fix it. I do like the half-point scoring. I'll continue to say that over and over and over again because then some of those close fights that you think are robberies, there's a better chance for the other person to win. If you only lost by a half point, that lets you know that every judge thought the fight was a lot closer than it. Yeah, and that was a lot closer. This whole 10-8 thing, or 10-9 thing, sorry, it really makes it to be like, oh yeah, he definitely dominated the round. No, they did not dominate the round. They had to give a 10-9 to somebody, and that's why. Now, if you give him a 10-9.5, okay, that lets you know that, yeah, I agreed. It was a super close fight. And so then they have a better chance of having closer fights and better understanding for the people at home to understand the judges saw it the same way. It was a really close fight. It was really close. And that, I think, would settle the fans' nerves and all the people at home going, oh, yeah.
It doubles the options for the judge if you have that half point.
Yeah.
Doubles it. That's huge. That can make a big difference in scoring.
Yep.
All right, next.
All right, next story. I want to get your reaction to this. Chael Sonnen says that Jake Paul badly needs the Nate Diaz fight next. Because of the pay-per-view buys and all that in the last one, this is kind of like, Jake Paul has to make up some ground right now. What do you think?
I think he's right. I think, let me say it this way. Whoever he fights in his next fight, it's got to be someone that draws. It's got to be someone that moves the needle. It's got to be someone that people are interested in because, and it really wasn't his fault as far as the last minute change to have the rematch with Woodley, but it did not do well. And it did not do well because people were not impressed with the first fight. And when they're not impressed with the first fight, they're going to go, why do I want to watch that again? So they've got to want to watch him. Well, that means that you need to put an opponent in there that people are interested in. Nate is someone, he moves the needle. People are interested in him. So Nate Diaz or somebody like him, yes, Jake Paul needs to have somebody like that in his next fight. I agree.
Yeah, I don't know if he needs Nate, but he needs, like you said, somebody like him to move the needle. I also think because the way he was able to knock out Woodley, that they're like, look, you obviously proved you can knock somebody out like that, of that stature, of that size, whatever it is. Now we need to see you move on to a better level of competition, or who they think is a better level of competition. Somebody that preferably boxes might work. Okay. So when you get to that level in the way he knocked out T Wood, they're thinking to themselves, Nate, Nick, give me somebody else. Give me another person that you can think of off the top of your head. I mean, I would say Masvidal. If Masvidal didn't sign a long-term deal, I'd say someone like Masvidal. Somebody that has some stand-up background, boxing background. That's what I could see. I personally, because I'm gonna throw his name out there. I know he's not as big a draw as Nate. Not a lot of people are. MVP. He's got the speed. He's got boxing matches. But I would love to see that fight. Him and MVP would be a fun fight.
I already brought that one up long ago to people at Paradigm who they manage MVP, and I said, man, look at your guy fights for Bellator. He's on Showtime. Jake Paul is signed by Showtime. You should be at their door banging on it saying, I got the guy to fight Jake Paul. And that is MVP but the problem with it is, how big is MVP? I can't say, but especially at the time that I was telling him, that was the matchup because that would be a great fight. It would be fun to watch.
It would really depend on where would you fight. Would you fight in London? Or
Of course.
Would you fight here? I mean, like
London.
Go to hostile territory, Jake, and or whatever. Do it in LA. I mean, MVP's a Showtime. He's a show guy, so he would love to be in LA doing that fight. But like I said, Nate to me is the fight. I've said it for the longest time that Nate is trying to get out of his contract, trying to fight his last fight so he can run off and take this fight. And I'll continue to stick by it. I've heard that that's kind of what he was thinking about. Now, look, so much time has passed. Maybe it's changed. I haven't heard anything in a couple months now. Yeah. So I haven't heard anything else since then. But anyways, I'd like to see either way. I'd like to see that fight. Next.
All right. Next story. Still on the topic of Chael Sonnen, but a bit more direct this time.
A lot of Chael Sonnen stuff here.
Well, I want to get your reaction to this whole situation that transpired with the fight in the hotel and then how he had charges pressed against him. The felony charges have been dropped, but he still has 6 misdemeanors. So he's still kind of in there, but it's not looking as bad as it originally did.
Well, like let's break this down as simple as it can get. Okay, first, was Chael arrested? Well, kinda. He wasn't taken down to Metro Dade and booked. He was written tickets. Okay, what does that mean? What does that tell you? If he assaulted someone, battered them, like has been said on like TMZ, that this man was just, his tooth was knocked out, things like that. Do you think they're going to write him a ticket? They're not going to write him a ticket. They can't. So let's be honest. There's cameras everywhere in the hotels in Vegas. Okay. Now, as long as this didn't happen in the bathroom, there's cameras all over. Okay.
I mean, you guys not watch Ocean 11? Jeez, come on.
Do you not think that they have all of this on tape? They got all of it on tape. Now, I've talked to Chael about this, and I understand, his side of what occurred. I understand what he said he did. But the best part is it's on tape. So it's going to come out, and no matter what anyone says, no matter what Chael says, no matter what the dentist guy and his female companion said, I don't know if it's his wife or not, doesn't matter what they say, it's on tape. We're going to find out. The problem is there's too many people wanting it to be more than it maybe is. Now, maybe it is something, but from what I've been told, it would be pretty easy for Chael to beat the snot out of a dentist if he wanted. Okay? Since that's really not what happened, the best part is Josh, look, I've been out to dinner with Chael and his wife, right? We have spent a lot of time with Chael. First off, Chael's wife is a fantastic person, beautiful lady, and if you want to say things towards her, it's probably not a good idea because as you watched on the Oscars, you could get slapped. Okay? Don't make comments about a man's wife in front of him unless you want that man to possibly respond. Now, the way he responds is the question. Did he hit him? I have one person saying yes, and I have one person saying absolutely not. We're going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Chael and all three of us with his wife, 4 of us, and even with some other friends. We've all had dinner how many times,
Yep.
lunch how many times. They are an amazing couple. He runs off any chance he can to spend time with her and the kids, and he's a good guy, man. People give him a lot of hard time because of the shtick he does and all those things. He's an amazing person.
Let me say this one thing, because I want to ask you a question on this. Because there's the whole thing on this was that Chael was drunk and stumbling, right? That's the best part.
Oh,
Now, look, I do drink. I drink beer. I drink whiskey. Josh, I will tell you, he drinks beer, whiskey, even wine because he's a little sophisticated. Okay? You ever seen Chael have a drink?
Chael doesn't drink.
Thank you.
Chael
I
doesn't
just,
drink,
it's
which is hilarious.
I love it. Chael doesn't
He
drink.
doesn't drink. I've tried buying him drinks several times. He hasn't drank, he said, pretty much since college. He doesn't drink.
Yep.
And the same thing, I've seen several people, not just me, I've seen several people in different settings. where
Buy
people
him a
have been
drink, and
drinking.
he says, "Hey, man, thank you very much, but I don't drink."
Yep. And he'll give it away and be like, hey, I'm sorry you wasted your money on this, but you go ahead, please, whatever it was.
Yep.
He'll always drink like either a Coke or a tea or a iced tea or whatever it is. He'll drink something else. He doesn't drink alcohol. So,
But he was drunk because that's what this man reported. That's what TMC put out. Guess what? As soon as they said that, my wife was like, Chael doesn't drink? I was like, no, he doesn't.
That's
So,
great.
yeah,
That's great.
It is what it is.
No. Yeah. Next. I mean,
There you go.
I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine.
All right. Should we hop into some fan questions?
Let's go.
Let's get into some of these fan questions here. All right. The first one is coming from Aaron J. Codona, who asks, what do you think about the whole champ process? Do you think being a champion in one division makes a fighter a number one contender in another division immediately, just based upon the fact they're a champion? Do you think it has any negative effect in the sport? Maybe log jamming divisions or slowing a division's progress down, perhaps? Question mark.
All right. I don't know what you know about computers, but I know very little. Just ask Podcast Dave because he's always screwing over my computer from afar. I don't know how he does it, but that tells you right there that you have no privacy at all if you are not using a VPN, and you need to use IPVanish VPN to protect yourself, because right now, if you're on the computer and you think that you're being private, you are not. There is no privacy at all. You do that incognito mode, it means nothing. You've got to go to IPVanish. IPVanish VPN is easy to use. It's just one touch of the button, and it will completely keep you private and secure while you are on the internet. Right now, this means that your private details, your passwords, the communications that you put out, the pictures that you send, and if you're sending some of them pictures, they can just be out there, and then everyone has them. You do not want that to happen. Be completely shielded from all of your information and all of your passwords and things falling in the wrong hands. Even your physical location will be hidden with IPVanish VPN. So this is super important, and it's super simple.
When you use IPVanish on unlimited devices, it's also without sacrificing the speed. You can use it on your computers, your tablets, your phones, even things like your Fire Stick. So if you guys have kids that use a Fire Stick in the car, use a Fire Stick in their room, okay, whatever it is separate from where you have control over it if you are a parent, use that IPVanish to help keep your family's information secure. I don't go online anymore without using my IPVanish, John. I know you don't. I know I don't. I'm Podcast Dave. I don't know what Podcast Dave, but he probably uses it as well because Dave's actually the computer smart guy over here. IPVanish is offering you an incredible 70% off with your yearly plan for our listeners only. For our listeners only, John, 70% off with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And just like that, that's like getting 9 months for free. At 70% off, that's like getting 9 months for free with IPVanish. IPVanish is super easy, John.
It is. It's super easy to use. I talked about that. It's so easy. One, push the button, instantly protected. You don't even know it's on. You don't even have to do anything special. It's easy. It's simple, and you're completely protected. Stop sharing the world, everything you stream, everything that you put out as a message, and all your passwords and all of that. You don't want that going out there. Take your privacy back today with a brand that is rated a 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. So go to ipvanish.com/weighing-in and use the promotional code that we have of weighing in and claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/weighing-in. Go now. I think yes and no. Look at when you sit there and you say, can it create a logjam? Yes, it can. It can create problems in your divisions. But when you're saying, does it automatically make that person a number one contender? Absolutely not. It does not. But when it does kind of put it there is when you have a champion who has basically run through most of the opposition in their weight class. That doesn't mean everybody, but most of the competition, the people that, most people would look towards is that, that's a great opponent. He's already gone through them. Well, that person is, he can be considered to move up or even down, even though I say to move up, he can be considered that main person, to challenge the other champion. Yeah, he can, because he's done everything that he can do within his division, really. And he's got to have goals. He's got to have motivations. And sometimes when you've gone through the people in yours, the only thing to do is to go get that next one. And so in some ways, yes, there are problems with having champ versus champ. It can create a problem in the division. It can hold other people back, but sometimes it's what's necessary.
There's only been a few people that I can think of off the top of my head that have deserved that type of situation. DJ being one of them, GSP being one of them, Anderson being one of them, and John Jones. I think outside of that, I can't think of another name off the top of my head.
Is he?
That not quite yet. He's got one or two more left.
Well, you got to figure he went through just about everybody in his division when he fought Jan.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that part. Yeah, he went up. I get that part. But those are the fighters that you're talking about being able to get the number one ranking to get up to the next weight class.
Yeah.
They deserve that type of thing. I would the only reason why I throw Conor in there is because of the way he did it when it came to Jose Aldo. And Jose Aldo was such a legend before, he's still a legend, but up until that had pretty much wiped out the division himself. And so when the way Conor dispatched of Jose, then when he went to 55 and the way he did it there, I understood why not to mention he was a huge draw and moneymaker. Yeah. But I'm simply saying though, is that the way he did it to Aldo that no one had ever done it to. Yeah. No one had ever touched him the way that he did, in that type of situation. So you can include him into that thing as well. But other than that, no. I don't even put DC on that list. And I know he went up and became heavyweight champ, but I didn't put him on the list in terms of he didn't wipe out a division. I mean, no. He beat a lot of people in that weight class, but he didn't wipe out the division, but then he got to heavyweight and he got the title shot. I understood why, DC became a big name after all the John Jones fights, and being a 2-time Olympian, and he's very, very well spoken, as we're finding out.
He's got a great personality.
He does. So, but there's not a lot of people that I think are worth backing like a log jam for, and him being one of them. And so, but you have a handful of fighters that were able to do that, or that should have done it. I thought DJ should have done it a long time ago. And I think that's maybe why the UFC was like, look, if you're not going to go up in weight, we might as well just trade you away, because we can't do anything with you pay-per-view wise, and if you're not willing to go up in weight. And so I saw that part. The GSP and Anderson thing was talked about for years, John.
Forever.
Never came about. And who else did I mention? And then you've got John Jones. John Jones is doing it right now. So, and he wiped out his division. And a lot of those fighters that he wiped out were legends.
And this is the point. How can you not sit there and look at John Jones, a guy who, legitimately has never lost, a fight. Ran through 15 title fights as a light heavyweight? How can he not be the first person that deserves a shot at the heavyweight title? How?
Yeah. Yep.
Ran through everyone. So, good question, though. Let's go, Dave.
All right. Jayton Solanke asks, I had a question for a while now. Josh believes Conor doesn't have anything now at this point of his career, but if we look at it, he has only lost to Khabib, the pound-for-pound greatest, and to Dustin, the second greatest lightweight in UFC. Robert Whittaker has lost to Adesanya and many more fighters, but you don't say the same thing about them. Why? Love your podcast, guys. From India.
All right. Well, one thing is that Robert Whittaker is currently active and very active. Like, he's still training daily. He's still not captivated by everything that's outside. He's not being pulled in 15 different directions. He is still 100% dedicated to fighting. Conor McGregor can say whatever he wants. He is not 100% dedicated to fighting. And even if he did come back to become 100% dedicated to fighting, we still would not see the Conor McGregor of old. It just wouldn't happen. John, he stepped away for too long, his mind is going 100 different directions. He has a huge family now. You know, I think they 3 kids coming? 4 now?
I think he's like going on his 4th.
Going on his 4th. So, you know, it's like all of these things. And look, I'm not going to say anything negative about him because it's like but it's just not there anymore. And to continue to sit here and say that it is, he is not going to be the same fighter that fought Jose Aldo. He's not going to be the same fighter that fought Eddie Alvarez, which I think still to this day believe was one of the best performances by any fighter ever. It was that fight against Eddie, you know, and he was a good fighter. It was a great fighter during that time, but then his time away and everything else that he's been distracted with and continues to be distracted with, business-wise, business venture-wise, everything else, family, everything. I say that he is done. Doesn't mean that he can't come in and get a win, but I don't think he'll ever get he'll never win another title. Maybe I'm wrong, John. Tell me. Do you think I'm wrong?
Well, first off, I think tell Dave, he didn't put Nate Diaz in there, did he? Because he lost to Nate Diaz.
He didn't put Nate Diaz in there.
Oh, yeah. It's like, yeah, Conor came in and did some, you know, amazing things. But to sit there and to compare what he's doing right now, you know, with other fighters and stuff, yes, he's been out because he's been injured. He got injured in the third Poirier fight, and you know, it's gonna take a while. We talked about that when it happened because all of a sudden they were talking about real fast. I was like, it's gonna take him quite a while to get used to that leg, kicking with it, not having it hurt more for him to kick than what it's going to feel like to someone else who's receiving the kick, all those things. And so you look and you go, look, Conor's had his moment and it was amazing. But when you start to look at what made Conor what he was, part of it was his laser focus on being in training, being the best, and putting in the work that needed to be done to be that guy. And when he started to take some of that focus and put it on a whiskey company that he did incredibly well with, but that's not all. He's got all of these, you know, he's got all of these hats out there and these different things, and he's got to address all of them, and that takes time and it takes focus. And he's not training with the same people in the same fashion that he was before. And to me, that's one of the telltale things. That's one of the things that I saw as a difference is when, you know, he's changed it up and he hasn't changed it for the better. You know, he still works hard. I'm not going to say he doesn't work hard. He does. But the percentages have changed, and what he's able to do now and the way he addresses things and what he's doing, he's got to go back to being that guy who was hungry, you know, how many years ago, you know, when he was fighting Aldo and then fighting Eddie Alvarez. He was hungry back then. He wanted to prove something. That guy is, you know, those fights were a while ago. You know, I can't, off the top of my head, what was it, 2016 when he fought Eddie? You know, because it was, UFC 205. I know that. So, It was a long time ago. It was in what? Like no, I think it was on the
November
anniversary.
15.
What's that?
I think it was November 2015 because he fought Nate shortly after that.
It was on the anniversary of the first UFC because it was November 12th, I believe.
November 2016. You're right, but
Yeah.
it was November. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a long time, man. You know, you're looking at 6 years. 6 years, big difference for someone to kind of go down a little bit, other people to come up. So it's not, Conor can still be a great fighter, but he's got to go back to being the guy that fighting is the number one thing.
6 years since the Eddie fight. People's careers come and go within 2 or 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Especially at the level at which these guys are fighting. So, next.
All right, Christopher Lopresti asks, everyone, love the show, and this is a question for both Josh and John. What is the best type of enclosure for an MMA fight? For example, a geometric shape cage, like an octagon or hexagon, circular cage, a roped ring, or some other sort of weird contraption?
Some other sort of weird contraption.
I don't know. I think the verdict's still out on all that. I mean, right now everyone's familiar with the cage. I would probably just say a circular one, only based on the fact that there's no corners to be put in.
That's it.
But it depends. I mean, if a corner's there, you put them in the corner. There's a little bit more damage, maybe a little bit better for the crowd. I don't know. But I've fought in a ring with metal cables wrapped in rubber in Pride, and then I've
wrapped it in cut up hose.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
That. Yeah, I've wrapped it. I've fought in that, and I've fought in a circle, and I've fought in a octagon. I mean, I've fought in a lot of different shapes.
You fought in a hexagon.
I have fought in a hexagon.
Yeah,
and
many times.
So it's just, yeah, I don't think I ever really noticed the difference when you're in there fighting. I never really noticed the difference. You do when it's the ropes.
You will find a difference with fighters between ropes and with a cage. There's a difference. Yeah. And the real thing to look at is there anything that's perfect? No. I'm going to tell you right now, for a fighter, the ropes, when you look at it, there's advantages and disadvantages. The cage, there's advantages and disadvantages. It used to be that, if you put someone down against the cage and you crushed them into the cage, it was hard for them to get up. Everyone gets up using the cage now. They all know how to wall walk. It's become part of training. Everyone does it. If you're unable to get up from somebody, if they have you up against the cage, it means that either one, you're exhausted, so you don't have the energy to do it. Two, you're just giving up and you don't really care about getting up, and you just are going to accept where you're at and try to ride out the fight. But everyone knows how to use the cage now to get themselves back. So when you look at it, the difference is the cage is safer for the fighter overall. Now, not always. If you're going to look at the UFC's cage, it's safer for a fighter no matter what. They do a great job with the cage. They've had it made a certain way, and it's they've even taken care of, because they have we call it an infinity line, with the canvas and the fencing actually goes down. It looks like the canvas kind of floats with it. Other ones will have pads along the bottom. So I like the round, and always have, only because it doesn't in any fashion give an advantage to one fighter over the other. There's nowhere I can put you that I can gain an advantage. Now, that's just the way I look at it with the difference in corners and stuff. But, there's guys that think that corners are great. So the ring is an easier aspect for people to watch the fight. It's cleaner for the fans, but it's also a lot more unsafe for the fighters, because fighters do fall out of it. They do end up getting hurt sometimes by falling out of the ring, going through the ropes, off of the apron and onto the floor. It's happened too many times, but fighters have been hurt in cages when someone didn't close the cage door the right way and it opened up. So you can get hurt in a lot of ways. The sport of MMA, for the most part, it's come to the point where the cage is what's used most of the time. Is there a preference? I don't care. It really, I I always just look towards what's safest for the fighters, and it's usually safest for them to fight in the cage because they cannot be, in a position to fall out of it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I believe it is safer. The other thing that makes it more difficult to fight in a ring is that when you fight like in Japan, where I had all my fights in a ring, you have people that are bouncing the ropes and constantly pushing you back in.
Pushing
if there's
you,
any
yeah.
law, they're constantly pushing you back towards the center of the ring. So it's like you're getting pushed on one side and the other guy's trying to beat you up. So now you're fighting two people. And so it gets a little frustrating sometimes. You know how many times like you be against the ropes and like all of a sudden you feel the rope like bounce off your head if you're like trying to squat down and defend the takedown, and they start bouncing the ropes and the rope will hit you in the head. And those ropes are not soft, by the way, you guys.
No. Especially the Pride ones those cables were tight.
They were tight.
It was like getting hit by a bat.
Yeah, they were super hard. That rubber was not rubber. It was like a gel coating that was not soft at all. It was painful, and so even when you're leaning against it, you're like, oh, this is horrible. But yeah, that was my experience in a cage. Yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards a cage. I mean, that was my experience in a ring. I'm definitely leaning towards a cage. And I think it is safer. And I do like the idea. I never thought about like in terms of it didn't give one fighter more of an advantage over the other when it was a circular cage. I just looked at it as like, why? I didn't want to have a corner where someone could just be pushed into and just held there and not a lot of action or whatever it is. Same thing in the clinch. If you got a clinch and you have a corner like that, you could just hold them in the clinch against there and not a lot of action. Or they may just open up and unleash the action. You never know. But in a circle, it kind of keep it moving. So, all right, next.
All right, next question from Acro. This one seems like it's in broken English. So I'm just going to read it as it is, and then you guys can interpret it how you want.
So it's like your English.
I was going to say, it actually may help Josh if it's in broken English, because, his brain can only process like 3 words at a time.
No, I can get to 4 now.
Acro asks, did fighter should eat junk food after the weight cutting, or they should wait after the fight? Like I see Tai Tuivasa eating some Nutella snack, eating junk food that's probably affect your body to perform at 100% the day after, right?
Absolutely. I've said this a ton of times. I know exactly where he's going with this.
Yeah.
I've said this a ton of times. Whatever you ate throughout your camp, that's what you continue to eat the next day. If you had oatmeal for breakfast and you had eggs and whatever else for breakfast, say mushrooms and potatoes and whatever else, that's what you eat the next day on fight day.
Don't have pancakes.
Don't have pancakes. Yeah, you're not. Don't get me wrong. There's things like you just find ways to carb load if you need to get your body back to normal, hydrate, and how you would do that as well. But don't go and eat something different that your body's not used to the day of the fight just because you made weight or that night before the fight. That's the last thing you want to do. When I first got into the UFC when I was younger, I think I was like 24, 23, 24, something like that. Anyways, I would have a huge steak after I never really ate steak during fight camp. But after I made weight, I'd go have a steak. I was like, oh yeah, because I know I'm getting paid the next day. And then I'd have chocolate cake, but I only have like half of it, like as if I was doing a good job. Like, okay, look, yeah, I'm only going to eat half the cake. Just as I got older, I was like, gosh, what was I thinking back then when it came to my nutrition? And so, yeah, just stay on the same routine. You have one more day. You just spent, Forrest Griffin used to say this all the time because he cut a lot of weight. I spent 8 weeks taking care of my body, getting my weight down, making sure. He's like, I'm not going to travel across to, another country or travel all the way across the country or all the way across the U.S. to fight somebody in some other town where I don't know where to get my food. I don't have a stove in my room. I don't have all these things that I want to keep my routine. And that really clicked with me because it's true. You got to keep that routine. Whatever your weight was during training, whatever you ate during training, that's what you should fight at. If I trained at 171, 172, I didn't weigh more than that come fight time. If I ate eggs and bacon for the morning every morning, or eggs and oatmeal in the morning, and then I had lunch, I had berries and yogurt, then that's what I ate the day of the fight. And then right before the fight, I always had just chicken and broccoli because it was the lightest thing for my stomach to process. That was it. And I always took some food with me to the fight, and I would eat it outside the locker room before I walked in because I knew it'd be about a 2.5 hour delay before I actually fought. As you got to the main card, got towards closer to the main event, I had it all scheduled on when I would eat these things. Yeah, to answer your question, eat clean, eat the same thing you've been eating for that time. And those fighters that are not doing that, I don't know if they're just doing it for show, for social media, to help build that up, or if that's what they really do in real life. I don't know.
You said it all. That's true. If whatever you've been eating, continue on. And if you've been eating Nutella, continue on.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
Well, remember the story with Kevin Randleman, right? Kevin Randleman with the fried chicken. I think that was at Pride in Vegas, wasn't that?
Oh yeah, you had that, but you had Derek Lewis with ribs. It was Robert Hollis was a coach, Extreme Couture, and I'm sorry, Robert Follis. Did I say Hollis? Robert Follis was a coach at Extreme Couture, and he took a picture because he couldn't believe it. So he takes a selfie with a picture of Derek Lewis eating ribs behind. He goes, and he's going to go fight, right?
That's crazy.
But guys do it, man. That's okay. If that's what you've been doing, you can continue on. If you haven't been doing it, I would suggest don't do it.
All right, next question comes from Berserker B Dog, who asks, John, I see the fighters pre-entry to the ring being frisked, basically. Has there been an instance that there was something actually found on the fighter or a discretion of some sort?
Absolutely. Why do you think we frisk him at the beginning of the fight? Yes. Look, guys, we say it all the time. You're not cheating, you're not trying. Guys used to try to cheat all the time. They would put Vaseline behind their ears. They would put Vaseline behind, if they're going against a wrestler and they thought they were going to try to, they would Vaseline the back of their legs. So the guy would grab at their legs and, pull it away. You had the incident with, George St. Pierre against BJ Penn. Look at that. Phil Nurse rubbing, his chest with Vaseline. It's like you look and you go, come on, guys are going to do stuff. The whole thing with the pat down at the beginning was to just make it as simple as, hey, you're going to have someone that's going to put their hands on you. They're going to sit there and they're going to look at your fingernails. They're going to look at your gloves to make sure nothing was altered or anything like that. They're going to take and they're going to put their hands and wipe you down and see if they feel any type of ointments or anything. Because guys would, what they'll do is sometimes guys would take a hot bath and they would rub baby oil all over them and then towel off so that it would appear dry. But as soon as they start to sweat, it starts to come off and it's real slippery. Josh had a famous fight against Clay Guida where he, talked about, man, he was greased. He wasn't greased. He had hair products in his hair and it should have been checked and it should have, been, nope, can't do it. And we've had those situations in the back. We say, hey, go wash out your head, take all that product out, make sure it's dry. We're going to make sure, when we go out there, we're going to test it. And so these are the things you try to take care of in the back beforehand. But the guy knows that he's going to end up having to be in front of someone and he's going to be checked beforehand. So it's just to try to make sure that someone's not trying to get something over on the sport or on their opponent.
Yeah, now that I'm retired, I can say this, is I would start putting Vaseline on my face in the morning. I put Vaseline all over my face, let it soak into my pores, just because I knew we didn't get a lot of Vaseline in between rounds, or we didn't get it. We only got it in the beginning of the fight, and so I would just put Vaseline on my face in the morning, and as we got closer to the fight, I'd wipe it off. But it was already soaked into your pores, so the chances of getting cut were a lot less.
Yep.
Just something I would do. I didn't put Vaseline on the rest of my body, you guys. Just want to let you guys know I cared more about my face. Next.
All right, next question from Callum Ash. Callum Ash asks, why doesn't Nate take the fight the UFC are offering and verbally submit in the octagon, then after just say F the UFC and go box Poodle Paul?
Yeah, I've always wondered that. Like, what if someone was not happy? How would they would get sued? I would imagine. Well, because it says in your contract you have to fight to the best of your ability or something like. It says I can't remember exactly what it says, but it says in there that you need to perform, you need to fight to the best of your ability, and whatever it is. So you walk in and just say, quick tap or whatever and just walk out, I would imagine they'd sue you.
Not only are they going to sue you, you got to figure what's going to happen. Everyone says, "Oh, yeah, I just do that." Good. Don't think that it hasn't been done, and don't think that there's not things set up to make sure that you don't want to be the next guy doing it. Okay. First off, your pay, there will be none. It's going to be confiscated. You didn't fight. You didn't perform. So you don't get paid if you don't perform. So your pay is gone. Now the athletic commission, they don't take kindly to it. Okay, that you said you wanted to fight. You signed a contract. That contract went to the athletic commission. They have that. And now that you decided you want to walk out of the fight, they're going to have you come before the commission and explain yourself. And you can get fined. And you can get fined a lot of money because they look at it like you did something that disparaged the sport. It disparaged them as a commission because you did it in their jurisdiction. And it is just not going to sit well. I'm just telling you right now. So not only are you going to not get paid, now you're going to get a fine by the commission and a suspension. So you're not going to be able to fight for however long it's going to be based upon whatever suspension. They can give you, let's say a year suspension, which would be about what they would give you. So now there's another year that you're not going to get paid. This is not something that you just, you do and like, oh, I can just get rid of my contract. You did not fight. And when you did not fight,
Doesn't it change,
live up to your
though?
contract.
Will it change, though, based on the fact that, let's just say Nate does this, and I'm not saying Nate would never do this, I don't think, ever. But I'm saying that, let's just say Nate did that. Walked in, just tapped the air, and just said, look, I lost, I walked out. He's not going to get paid, that's fine. Okay? Say he gets slapped with a fine. Pays the fine, contract's done, then he applies for his license for boxing. And then do they give it to him? Do they not?
They might not.
But then on top of it, let's just say he doesn't pay the fine. Who's to say that he doesn't just go, let's say they don't give him the license because he didn't pay the fine. What if he goes to Dubai and fights over there? Or where does he goes to another country, fights, or he goes.
That's a better bet for him.
Will other states allow him to fight?
That you're always going to find, no matter what, you will always find that state. Oh, we'll take that fight. Okay, but it's going to be what? One of the smaller states. One of the ones that fights normally don't occur in. One of the ones that don't get big fights. So what does the promoter want? Does he want to put the fight on there? No, he doesn't want to put the fight on there because it's harder for him to sell tickets there. It's harder for him to do everything there. So you just made it hard on the promoter who's going to be paying you money. You just made it hard on him to put his show on where he wants to put it on so he can make that money so he can pay you. There's a lot of things that go into this.
Because I look at a fight like the Nate Diaz and Jake Paul fight, they could take that fight overseas.
Yes, they could. And that, like I
fine.
said, that would be your better option.
And then just air it over whatever pay-per-view or whatever it is they plan on doing, and they'll make their money.
Yeah, you could.
Because that's really like, even if he did that, if Nate did that, he would still just go and take that fight. He's only probably going to do the one-off fight and then right off into the sunset. So I don't think he would really give a crap what happened.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Are you going to give a crap? Let's say that you get this one fight, okay? And your one fight is in April coming up, right? Now, when was Nate's last fight?
He fought for what, 2 years now?
No, he fought, his last fight was against Leon, right?
Leon Edwards. Right now. It was Leon Edwards in June last year.
Oh, June
right?
last year.
So June of last year. So we're talking you haven't fought for close to a year already, right? Mm-hmm. So now you have this fight in April and you do this. So you're not getting paid again, right? So you're not getting paid for this entire year. And what's going to happen? I told you you're going to end up going before the commission. And what are they going to do? They're going to suspend you. So now it's going to be at least another year before you can do all this other stuff. And you're going to be losing money based upon the fine that you get. And you're going to get either you're going to get sued by the promoter because you were disingenuous with what you signed to do on your contract. You didn't fulfill it and you cost them money. So now they're going to try to recoup that money. And trust me, the UFC has sued a lot of people. They don't lose. Let's just be honest.
Because it all takes place in Vegas.
They've been sued by people. They've countersued them, and they always win. You're right. And because part of their contract is if you have a lawsuit, where do you have to file it?
In Las Vegas.
Okay. So, this would be costly in so many ways for someone to do. You're crazy to do it.
Yeah. Walk out and just put yourself in a triangle right away.
Go ahead.
It's like right away.
Right away.
That's it. No, I just got caught. Oh, you would just have to have the right opponent to make it look like it was definitely just thrown. Like, if you have let's say you get a top level kickboxer. Let's just say you have George versus, Nate, and Nate just runs out there and throws himself in a triangle real quick. It's like, what are the chances? All right, next.
All right, next question from Uppercut Cannon, who asked, Josh, last month marked 5 years since your retirement. How has your life changed for better or worse? Do you feel fighters have more resources to help train than your generation of fighters did?
We definitely have more resources to train. There's more high level gyms as well. A lot of the stuff is moving to Vegas because a lot of people want to be accessible to the UFC. The ones that that are trying to get into the UFC. You'll find that a lot of managements have now started to work their way into Vegas as well to try to who's the young and up and coming fighter that we can start staking claim on to become, to sign them. The UFC has what is it called?
PI.
The PI, Performance Institute. That's available to them, which comes with also food. I believe it's like breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, they can get breakfast and lunch. You can't get dinner.
Yeah, but I mean, they have access now. That saves them a lot of money and expenses. Yep. There's a lot of things that are accessible to them now that were definitely not accessible to us back in the day. The management fees, though, I think those have gotten a little bit more increasingly a little bit higher. And if they haven't gotten higher, the money's gotten a lot better. So you're paying out a lot more money, which is good for the managers as well as the trainers. But other than that, I mean, I think it's been good across the board for every MMA athlete, John. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't want to become an MMA athlete, MMA fighter, unless you just don't have the desire to. It's like something that you don't want to do. If you're adamant about being one, I can't find a way why you wouldn't be successful. I mean, with the amount of coaches that are out there, top level coaches, and access to walking into a room like Extreme Coutures or AKA, where you've got top level fighters to train with. Iron sharpens iron. I mean, it's accessible to you. I think it's available to everybody. It's just a matter of how much you want it and how much work you really want to put in. And that's up to them. In terms of my retirement, gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. But I'm
so crazy. Ask
John, man. I'm freaking happy, man. I'm one of those guys that once I decided to retire, that's why I waited so long to announce it. I wanted to make sure that I was sure about my decision. And once Bellator signed me to a longer term deal to be an analyst and they were happy with my performance, behind the mic and things like that, I had no desire to go back. And I was already losing desire to fight, my last probably 4 or 5 fights. The fight, even when I fought Benson, that was probably my last fight that I was really motivated for. That was the one that I was probably, and even then I was kind of frustrated. I was flustered that I wasn't getting the title shot. I was supposed to get the title shot when I fought Eves when I was there the first time. And I felt like they did it to me again. And I just was like, you know what? It just wasn't meant to be for me in this game, and I just got frustrated and flustered. And I just didn't know if I wanted to do it anymore. And that was kind of that's when I just started moving on kind of with my life, opened a gym, just kind of my life started going in a different direction. I started thinking about life after fighting. So how am I living now? I love every second of what I'm doing now. I do the show with John. I work as an analyst. I work with great people at Bellator, and Showtime and Paramount and every other organization, every other network we've ever been on, CBS Sports, everything. I love it. Podcast Dave is a good friend of mine. I've known him for a lot of time. All these things are great to me. And I'm very, very happy with the way my life is going. I don't look back. Not one regret, John. Not one.
That's the way to do it.
Super happy.
That means it was a win.
Next.
All right. From Takero Man 91. Any top prospects for the growing women's MMA Bellator strawweight division? Question mark.
Well, Bellator doesn't have a strawweight division.
He did say prospects.
There's no strawweight division. So,
you know, there are some really good fighters that can fight at the 115. Carrie Melendez is a stud, and she's got great striking, very crisp, and she's got power. Normally, when you have a smaller, female, it's hard for them to create enough torque and power to really hurt their opponent with one shot. She's got that ability. She understands how to punch. She does it correctly, and she's fun to watch. And now her ground game has actually gotten pretty damn proficient to where she'll go into ground and pound situations. She's not worried about being submitted and everything. Obviously, her husband has helped her with that quite a bit, and she's fun to watch. She definitely could be in the 115-pound weight class. She goes up to the 125, but she could make it easily.
Yeah, I believe she just signed an extension with Bellator. She'll be fighting at 125 now. I think she's gonna try to make a little title run at that position there. She was juggling between 115 and 125, and I know there were some bids on her maybe going to the UFC and then her maybe going somewhere else. But she decided to stay with Bellator because they pretty much are around the San Jose area, once a year at least. But she's one of them. I would love for Bellator to have a 115-pound division because I know there's plenty of them out there.
We talk about it all the time.
And
they tell us, shut up.
Yes, they do. But I would love for there to be a 115-pound division in Bellator. And who knows? Maybe one day down the line we'll get that. I would like to see it. But I don't think we're going to get it in the Carrie Melendez era.
No.
She's getting a little bit older as well, yeah. Next.
All right, from Hakan. If a fight ends in a draw, do the fighters still get their win bonuses or do they only get their show money?
Show money. They do not get that.
It's up to the promoter.
It is up to the promoter. So can the promoter give them a split of that show money? Yes. Can they give them their full show money? Yes. Can they give them nothing as far as show money? Yes. So it's really up to the promoter. The promoter is the one that's going to decide. They're guaranteed their show money, their win. If they didn't get a win, it's possible that they could get what was their win bonus. It's possible they could get half of it. It's possible they get none of it.
Yep. John answered it.
There you go.
Exactly.
From Mickey Pineda, how would a healthy prime Shane Carwin do in today's heavyweight division?
He would do great. Shane could wrestle.
Yeah.
He had good wrestling. He was strong as hell. He could hit like a mule. And he is tough. But you got to figure the one thing about Shane had a career. He was an engineer. And he had a career. And so he was never really that full-time fighter for a lot of his career. And he started kind of late with it. But Shane was tough. He was, a talented guy. And again, super strong. We're talking about just a very strong individual. Look at what he did when he fought Brock. He dominated Brock for that first round, and he dominated him so much he ran out of gas. And there's a thing called being raboed, which is rabidosis. You work so hard at using a muscle that there's too much blood that rushes to it. That kind of happened to Shane in that fight, and he was just exhausted, and Brock ended up getting the win. But the guy could fight, and he was tough, man, because he had that fight against Junior Dos Santos up in, I want to say it was in Vancouver. And it just, man, he took an ass whipping, just kept on coming, though. Tough dude.
He had power.
Yeah.
He had power. He had good wrestling.
Yep.
He was a mountain of a man.
Yeah.
Extreme. He was talented. He just had to work on the remedy, to the cardio issue. He was just so big, carrying all that, that muscle, having to carry all that oxygen. I don't know. I don't know how he would do, to be honest. I think he would do well. But I look at the heavyweight division now, and I'm like, okay, there's a couple fighters I think would give him a hard time, but I think the rest of them, Him and Derek Lewis would have been a fun fight.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That would have been a fun fight.
He could have taken Derek off of his feet because he was a good enough wrestler. He could have done that. Power-wise, they're close.
Mm-hmm.
They're really close. So
Derek I think is a little more explosive on the feet.
maybe.
And so could have potentially got to the chin a little bit faster, but
Maybe.
then would he have knocked him out? I don't know. That's what makes this an interesting conversation, John.
Yeah.
You say, when you're talking about heavyweights, they both have power. I know one has wrestling, but Derek Lewis, sure, he can be taken down. He also just does the stiff arm in the armpit and just pushes you right off of him, too. So that's how strong he is as well.
Yeah.
So overall, it would make it for a fun conversation for a lot of those fights.
But he could still do well.
Yeah. Next.
Michael Forte asks, Josh, all homerness aside, does the Rafion starts that beat Magomed beat Peter Yan?
I don't know. But I'm just being honest, and John, I think you would maybe agree with me. Look, stylistically, they match up very well. I think Rafion Stotts is a good enough wrestler to take him down, and I think he'd probably be able to take him down several times. Can he do it for 5 rounds, though? I don't know. I think he can do it, but can he hold him down? He's going to have to continue to keep taking him down without getting tired. Rafion's going to have the speed advantage. He will not have the power advantage, but he will have a little bit more tools. In terms of what I mean by tools is he'll mix up the knees, the kicking, and the striking, the different style of attacks that you see like with the Pettis brothers. He'll mix those things up, which will keep Peter Yan guessing. You know what I mean? So mixing those things in with the wrestling would make for a very good fight. Look, I'm hearing a lot of good things of how well that Rafion's doing in the Extreme Tours and other locations that he's been training at. Everyone's telling me he's the real deal. I think he's the real deal based off of the Magomedov fight. But I can't go based off of anything else. I'm hearing things from other people, but look, the fight is a fight. I'm not going to say that I can't sit here and with a straight face tell people that Rafion Stott's going to win. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't. And it's impossible for you to until they fight. You got to break this down the way it is. Does Rafion have the skill set to possibly beat Piotr? Yes. Does Piotr have the skill set to beat Rafion? Yes. I would say this. If that fight was booked and I was the odds maker, Piotr Yan would be the favorite. He's going to be the favorite in the fight because his skill set as far as going 5 rounds, he's very good against wrestlers. He's very good as far as with his foot sweeps and taking guys that come into him off balance. And he's got power, and power is a huge, thing in the 135-pound weight class because it's rare to have a guy that can really swat, and he can. And he's got good kicks. He's mentally tough. I think you can look at, take a look at the Aljamain Sterling fight against Yan. Aljamain is very similar in a lot of ways to Rafion as far as his wrestling ability. I think Rafion's a better wrestler than Aljamain was, but he lives off of getting the takedown and being on the ground. But Rafion is kind of gone towards, hey, I'll be in the stand up and I'll take you down when I feel like it's the proper time. So I mean, if they made the fight, is Piotr Yan going to run through Rafion Stotts? No. Is Rafion Stotts going to run through Piotr? No. I think Piotr would definitely be the favorite in the fight, but it would be a fun fight to watch.
The reason why I wouldn't just say this based off the bookies is I look at it too that Piotr Yan has had to fight not just over in Russia fighting top level competition there. He's been in the UFC fighting a deeper division. Whereas with Rafion, sure, he's fought some tough fighters, Magomedov being one of them. Yep. But the thing is, though, that's been 1, maybe 2 top fighters that he's fought. And he's dominated or had good wins over. You know what I mean? And so with Yan, you already know a deeper pool of what you're getting from him. With Stotts, the verdict is still out. And I'm a big Stotts fan. Yeah. But you have to be honest with yourself. I look at it the same way John does. Is one person favored? Yeah, I would say Yan would be favored because there's a deeper pull for me to go back and say, look, he beat this guy, beat this guy that are similar styles to Stotts. Whereas if I look at Stotts, there's not a lot of guys that I could say like, okay, he beat a guy that looks like Yan or competed like Yan. You know, I mean, like the fights like Jan, I don't have a deep enough pool that he'd be able to do it several times. That's why I would go based on that.
Look, let's be honest. Piotr's got one loss. Okay, you throw the Sterling thing away because that was a disqualification. That's not. He didn't get beat, so he's got one loss. It's to Magomedov, and it was still a close fight. So, I mean, barely has a loss. Stotts got one loss, and it's to Merab Davishvili, and it was 15 seconds. He went in there, had his hands down, got clipped, got knocked out. So, you know, you take a look and say they both have one real loss. You can say, well, if Merab beat him, you know, and that says something. That was a while. I don't know. Do me a favor, pull up that fight if you can, David, and let's see when it was, because it was a while ago. And you know, obviously because Davishvili was not in the UFC at that time either. But you know, anyone, and that's part of growing as a fighter. You make mistakes. Sometimes you get caught. Sometimes you don't. But there's this
2017
spinning back fist, 15 seconds in, and so you're looking, you know, when was it? 2017, June of 2017. Yeah. So 5 years ago. He's a different fighter now too, but I think Merab's a better fighter now also too. So I just look at it and said, if I looked at them, you know, going in, they both have things that I look at and say, I think he's got the advantage here. And there's no doubt that I think Stotts has the advantage in the wrestling. No doubt you got to give Jan the advantage in the striking, but it would be a fun and interesting fight.
I agree. I mean, I also look at other guys in that weight class that would be fun as well. I mean, that to me is the most stacked weight class in the world.
In the world
right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Next.
Isaiah Parker asks, could you guys rate Will's slap/punch and rate Chris's chin, please?
John, I mean, Will's slap was all fingers, you know, and
obviously that range and distance is not his forte.
No.
Didn't understand how to create the right range and close that distance, and then I think kind of stuffed himself in there and tried to short arm it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Didn't help him.
Yeah, he kind of had that Wives of Hollywood house slap, whatever they call it, the Wives of Hollywood White House slap.
A little bit of a pimp slap.
Yeah, Chris, look, what I was more impressed by Chris Rock was the way he handled it after that
Oh my God, yes. First he took it like a man and he handled it like a man.
Exactly. Yeah, he handled it like a true professional, and you know, you have to. Any other man, it might have been down. It might have been on. Like let's fucking go. Like you slapped me on national television in front of I don't know how many people were in the damn Oscars.
Hold it. You slap me and then you turn around, and start to walk away. Sorry, son.
No,
but
gonna get Masvidal.
That's why Chris Rock is a much better human being than I am.
Yeah. Like I said, the way he handled it was very impressive.
Yeah.
Just nasty. Just good stuff by him. Next.
All right. We're going to wrap up with this one from Live at Victoria, who says, can't think of a good one, so just have a nice day, fellas.
There you go.
Oh. All right. Live at Victoria, thank you for not really sending the question, but thank you for wrapping up our show for us, man. Normally I let that be to Big John, but guess what?
You took it.
You did a great job. Go to WeighingInPodcast.com. Check out some of our merch. We got a couple hoodies, long sleeve shirts, sweatshirts.
Sweatshirts, very good.
Okay. We've got a plethora of t-shirts to choose from. We got our new logo as well as our old logo. We've got the Karate Kid, the Beast Mode shirts. We've got all different types, the home improvement shirts. Got plenty to choose from. We got the hashtag and still, which Podcast Dave just designed. That is up and available. And the hindsight is 50-50. That's called the Joshism. And make sure you guys capitalize on this while they are still up and available. And so go to WeighingInPodcast.com. Check out our merch. And John, take us away.
Yeah, baby. Well, like Victoria said, everyone out there, be good to someone. Be kind. Make someone's day special. And we hope you enjoy this. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you.
John, that's not what she said.
I don't know.